I'm going to get them into places.
Okay.
Right here in the front row.
Okay. Mom thinks we're going to roast her.
Mom thinks we're going to roast her.
Yeah. And then wife was boys, and mommy was hungry. My daughter didn't.
I'm ready.
This is the story of Bob and Sue. Once upon a time, there was a baby boy named Bobby Betty. He was born in Hartsville, Tennessee on May 3rd, 1942. Bob was the third of 4 children in the Betty family, with 2 older half-sisters, Willette and Roselle, and 1 brother, Billy, who was 5 years younger. Now, Billy and Bobby grew up together in Smith County, Macon County, and later Sumner County, Tennessee, until Bobby was 13. That's why he still talks funny. At that time, Herschel, Sally, and their 2 boys moved to Klondike, Indiana. The Betty family opened and ran a restaurant on Highway 52 for the next 3 years. In January of 1960, the Betty family moved to Pine Village, Indiana, and opened a new restaurant on the Pine Village Square. They ran the Village Inn restaurant, and Bobby commuted back and forth to Klondike High School until he graduated in May of 1960. That is right, isn't it? 60. Bobby became Bob, and he did play high school football, and he lettered in it. Thus came the letter sweater, and we'll talk about that later. Now, Bob was a good boy, always helping out in the restaurant. However, this good boy assured his mother that he would never do anything like play poker. Well, unfortunately, after this heartfelt promise, a picture of him showed up in the yearbook, sitting at a table with cards and a lot of money in front of him. Oops. Now, meanwhile, while all that was going on, a little girl named Norma Sue Oliver was born in Nashville, Tennessee, to Marvin Jiggs and Pauline Oliver on June 22nd, 19...
You're welcome.
She was the eldest of 2 children, as her little brother Doug was born 5 years later. Now, when Susie was 2, her family moved from Tennessee to Oxford, Indiana, where Susie would attend 1st and 2nd grade. After that, the Oliver family moved to a farm outside Pine Village, Indiana. Now, being the true daughter of Jiggs Oliver, Susie was, well, you could say a little ornery. At 14 years old, Susie was chased by the police while driving her daddy's 54 Chevy without a license. She got away. After she did get her driver's license, she was driving her and Doug home from school. And now their farm, it was located on a curvy gravel road. And, well, she took the curve too fast, ran off the road a little, and took a lot of gravel with her. Now, she knew her daddy would see this and reprimand her, so she made Doug get out and put all the gravel back. Susie graduated from Pine Village High School in May of 1962. Now, back up a little. In 1960, Susie entered the workforce as a waitress in Pine Village at the Village Inn, owned by Herschel and Sally Betty. You see where I'm going with this?
I see your skirt.
Susie, and I quote, would strut around in his letter sweater, bothering and flirting with her. Now this went on for a while until Susie finally gave in and they began to date. The typical date for this couple was to drive or cruise around West Lafayette between the Park and Eat and the Big Wheel restaurants. Anybody remember those? And sometimes Nancy's on the levee. Yeah. And that was in Bob's 58 Chevy convertible. Now, they dated for a year, 1.5 years, when on October 13th, which happened to be Friday the 13th, Bob proposed. Susie accepted, and they began to plan the wedding and get an engagement ring. Well, they went downtown Lafayette to Chuck's Jewelers, and as they were outside looking in the windows at the rings, a car drove past with a man yelling, "Don't do it, buddy!" Now, Susie's daddy Jigs like Bob, but like most fathers, didn't like the idea of her getting married so young.
But Daddy, I love him.
Susie Q, why do you want to marry this fool again? I've seen the harder working boys in France. Besides that, why do you even want to marry Betty?
Well, against all advice, Bob and Susie were married on June 9th, 1962, in a small wedding ceremony at the Oxford Church of Christ. Now, Susie was 17, a few weeks being shy of 18, and Bob had just turned 20. Susie's maid of honor was her best friend, Noni Pierce. Is Noni still here?
No.
Okay. She just had to leave, sorry. And Bob's best man was his best friend, Mel McCormick. Is he here?
No.
No, oh, sorry.
Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson, second best friend. Sorry. Okay, got the facts wrong. Their first home was a mobile home trailer located in Pine Village behind the Village Inn. They lived there for a month or so, then moved the trailer to Lafayette, Indiana, to Margene Trailer Park on Highway 52. There they lived for the next 2 years. Bob worked at a small factory in Fowler for 1 year, then got a job working nights as a stock boy at Payless grocery store in Lafayette. Now, Sue worked at the Dog & Sons as a cook until she gave birth to their first child, Angela June. After Angie was born, Sue became a stay-at-home mom for a while and began working at Fairfield Manufacturing Company, where he would continue to work for the next 42 years until retirement. They later moved to West Point, where they lived in a trailer for a year. In July 1965, the two great joys came into their world. Cynthia Kay was born in July, and 10 days later, they moved into their first house, where they still reside today. While Bob continued to work at Fairfield, Sue began to sell Tupperware. She became a manager and worked with Tupperware for 8 years. During this time, a third great blessing came. Her name was Melanie Sue. 1975, they visited and later joined Brady Lane Church of Christ. Bob and Sue became very involved in their daughters' lives and activities, including being Girl Scout leaders for 10 years. They even received an award for being the first couple to lead a Girl Scout cadet troop for 5 years. They supported their children by attending church activities, school volleyball and basketball games, attending millions of choir shows, school plays, and even chaperoning most Jefferson High School marching band contests between 1980 and 1986. Every year, the family took a family vacation, and they traveled to 48 states by 1986, including 51 out of the 68 national parks. Bob and Sue later went to the last 2 states to make it an even 50. They also have been to 7 countries. Bob continued to work at Fairfield, where he served as president of the Athletic Association. Sue started her house cleaning business, which she continued for the next 20 years. Bob served as a deacon, elder, and chairman of the elders at Brady Lane Church of Christ. Sue was involved and later became president of the Pioneer Women at Brady Lane Church as well. They also have been active in several church committees. Bob is currently in charge of Brady Lane's food pantry, and Sue currently enjoys volunteering at St. Anthony's Nursing Home, the Villa Nursing Home, and St. Elizabeth Hospital. Now, their eldest daughter, Angie, married Steve Newton and they together have 2 sons, Andy and Jeremy. They live in Lafayette. Cindy married Tom Bowler and has 5 children, Nathan, Hannah, Luke, Rebecca, and Grace. They live in Cleveland, Tennessee. And Melanie is single and available and lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee. She does have one extremely spoiled, rotten Shih Tzu dog named Lila. Now, while never claiming perfection, the Bettys have made it through 50 years of marriage. There have been good times and bad, happy and sad, but there has always been love. May the Bettys have many, many, many more years of wedded bliss before them. The end, and to be continued.